So I guess we are ready to start. Warm welcome. Hello, everybody. So my name is Jens. I'm overall responsible for the AI webcast series, and it's my pleasure to welcome you, not all over the world, but from many different countries. And we are really happy that you decided to join our webcast today. It's already the third one. We will focus today on AI agents, AI innovations, but I brought some colleagues, really deep AI experts. They will manage to deliver not only the content today with you, but they are as well really looking forward to a exciting Q&A with you. And this is my wish and as well offer for you. Please use the opportunity during the webcast. I guess you are all familiar with Zoom. You have this small Q&A button where you are able whole webcast to ask you a question. And just to give this quick overview how we will structure the webcast today, we will have a keynote. Afterwards, we have different colleagues from different geographies, so countries from Deloitte, where we will share different insights, but then especially answer as well your different questions. It can be AI related, but on the other hand, for sure, as well career related. So please use this opportunity. And we would like to start with a quick, what we call ice-breaking question, where we would like to invite you to share your perspective. What kind of associations and ideas do you have what AI innovation means? And I guess we have quickly the QR code for you, and maybe you are all as well familiar with the tool Menti. You have as well the link, so you can either use it via your mobile phone, as you are, I guess, used to it from different settings. On the other hand, you find the link as well in the Q&A chat. So having this set, I would like to really warm welcome Björn, and over to you, and really looking forward to an exciting exchange. And yeah, go ahead. It's your turn, Björn.
The mute button. Thank you so much, Jens, for the kind introduction, and welcome everybody. I still see people coming in, and first answers pouring in on what AI innovation means to you. So as Jens just mentioned, going to have quite an interesting session today, I hope. I'll say a few words to me in a minute, but just I'm very happy to run the show here and later on have some panelists. Myself being in the AI space already for a while, and utterly happy that more and more people are pouring in. So very much looking forward to your questions and to the discussion. It seems the Menti is coming to an end. No, there's still some folks answering. And we can already see what does AI innovation mean to you? Opportunity, that's great. I don't see too many negative things, to be honest, which makes me happy. Future, automation, transformation, that looks very much aligned, so to speak, with what we have in mind. That nobody's mentioning risk is rare, or it's just too small or too varied that I see it at the moment. All right. Then I would say I start into the keynote, right, Jens?
Yes, please.
Wonderful. Then, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me for a minute, because obviously I have to click all the right buttons that you see what you're supposed to see, which should be this. Great. So the innovation edge, and I'm pretty sure if you're in this space, then it won't surprise you that in the realm of AI, AI agents are basically what the innovation edge is right now, at least the one that we can very clearly see discussed in the public and in many different spaces. Now, this is a short keynote. This is not meant to be technical, trying to cover all different aspects of it as much as we can do in a short time frame, and have to top it off at the end also some further reading materials. As promised, starting with a few words to me, quite funny. There are two things on this slide, as you will know at the end of the slide, but both fit artificial intelligence field of study. Namely, that's me. And I indeed studied AI and did this, I think, about 25 years ago now. So I've grown older, you see the beard. And AI has evolved in the meantime. So I spent quite some time at a bunch of very, very old institutions. You can guess it from the logo, one or two missing, but that should do the trick. And that was basically where eventually I did my PhD on this very topic. But also maybe one fun story that really drew me into AI in a good and in a bad way, if you like. Namely, at some point, let's say somewhere in Freiburg, I was building for the very first time a very own machine learning algorithm. And as it's a piece of software, there were bugs in there, and it didn't work at the beginning as it should on an example that I created, and it was very small, so I knew what it was doing. I knew exactly how the result should look like. I built the algorithm myself. It wasn't too complicated, of course. And still there was a bug, and I was hunting the bug for like about 2 weeks until I actually found out that the result the machine was producing was correct. And the machine was just from scratch better than what I thought was the optimal result, which was, on the one hand, very nice because I could stop finishing my bug search. But on the other hand, I was, in a way, a bit scared that the machine outperformed me on something so small that I defined from scratch. And on the other hand, obviously very impressed that the machine outperformed me on that very small example already. So that certainly drew me in. And then, to be quite frankly, also the colleagues that were around there, just as at Deloitte, is always a fun place to be. Now, then started my career, basically at Deloitte, then spent 3.5 years at a strategy consulting company, and now back at Deloitte, and happy here to lead the Deloitte AI Institute, one out of 2025 that we have around the world, because Deloitte decided that AI is such a big topic that we can't just do it on the side. And that's a second part of AI field of study, is when you go on Google Trends and check basically for the time of my studies, so that's why it's aligned here. The search interest over time, you can see that during my studies, pretty much nothing was happening. Nobody cared about AI. That's probably just me down there and the lab. But then, as you know, about 2.5 years ago, it went through the roof with the watershed moment of ChatGPT in this case, and everything that followed it. And now we're at AI agents, and you can see the trend isn't going down anywhere. It's rather further going up. So with that, quoting Hans Vestberg, who said this actually already quite a while ago, the pace of change will never be this slow again. So get used to the roller coaster, especially if you're interested in the topic of AI. It's a tough sport, but it's never boring. Now, when we look a little deeper, there are obviously lots of things happening. The development keeps at a very high speed, and it's also influencing lots of things. So first, the obvious, if you like, technology. The large language models or foundation models are getting smaller and smaller, which is great because that means they need less energy and they're usually easier to build. They also become more specialized. So rather than having a model that can do everything, we see smaller models which are easier to build because they're smaller and perform very good, but only at a certain task, which is usually what you want. There are rare cases when you need a model to do everything. And there was a long discussion if open source will play a role or not, but it seems, at least recently, that open source will play a very strong role. It also has very strong advocates in favor of it, so which I believe for most is actually good news. It's also impacting, obviously, business. And here we have agentic AI. And I put in here one other topic that's popping up, which is this kind of computer use, which is a little bit of an unfortunate term, if you ask me. But I'm pretty sure you've seen it from the large providers. They provided models that can basically take over your computer and do what you would do with a computer. So you ask them to order a pizza, and rather than you clicking through the web browser and ordering the pizza, they would do it for you. Now, that use case usually isn't very beneficial. But if you consider that there are many applications which are really hard to access programmatically, it's quite impressive that we can basically access anything that you can access on a computer with these tools now. And feeding that into agents is basically making sure that they can access everything that you could access. So there's quite some opportunities lying there. And eventually, just 3 highlights from, I think it's just the last 2 weeks, from the world of politics or nations around the world. You've heard about Stargate, 500 billion invest in the US in infrastructure. You've certainly heard about DeepSeek just days later, the record-breaking, though some claims are still disputed, language model out of China. And then just, I think 1 or 2 days ago, the AI Champions Initiative that was launched in Europe, again with a triple-digit billion euros in this case, to push AI forward. So it's not just what I did back then, sitting in a small room and building a small tool. It has the whole world in its fangs. We're running a study quarterly last year on GenAI, and I just wanted to share one point here. And it's actually a premiere. Nobody has seen this data, at least not external of Deloitte. There's 1 in 4 of the companies are already exploring agentic AI to a large extent. So if you look at that, it's 26%, in fact, of organizations are very much into exploring AI agents. And this is about 2,700 senior executives asked around the world. And if you look at some of the countries, so the top ranking countries in there, I think the total is 16, here just 5 shown. You see the top ranking country is 35% interest. And what you can see there is that everything on the right of the average, which is the global one, is actually in Europe. So surprisingly, to be honest, Germany leading in this case, very closely followed from the Netherlands and Switzerland, and then also the UK playing in there. So there's a huge interest here on the continent, on the old continent, if you like, in agents. Obviously, we're not just preaching this, but we're also consuming AI ourselves. So just one quick example that our colleagues have built over the years, actually. So there's not just something that came out over a weekend because it takes some effort. We have tools, and that's one example internally, which help us with AI. As you know, consulting is a lot of knowledge work. So there are lots of things to remember, lots of information sources to access. And this is a tool that's allowing us basically to access up-to-date, real-time serving 128,000 curated data sources. So hence very highly reliable results, because there's hardly any hallucination in there. That speeds up a lot of our work, which, let's say, 3 years ago was absolutely unthinkable. So we can clearly feel how this is impacting our job certainly as well. And obviously pretty much everybody here is happy about it. Not just at our place, but obviously there are many things happening at our clients as well. I just brought 2 recent client stories. Not going to go into too much detail here given the time, but on the very left, the issue here is it's a major manufacturing company, and the suppliers every now and then have some questions what happened to their invoice. And to figure that out, usually they would have to go through all kinds of plans that the manufacturer has to try to find out what actually went wrong. This is quite a tedious job. So there we build an agent that is actually taking over this job and is drafting a reply now to the supplier, such that the human only needs to verify if what the agent did and then compose in this email makes sense and can double check, but doesn't actually have to do the research tasks themselves. On the other hand, there's a lot of accounting going on in many firms, and these forms to fill out are quite challenging sometimes, especially if you don't do it all the time. But there are many rules that underlie these forms. So what our colleagues from the SAP practice did was sit down and build a advisor that's helping clients through this accounting process and helping through the tiny tidbits of this process to get through without too many questions and without having to ask a supervisor or an expert on every other corner. So these are both tasks which are speeding up massively. So it's not just 10% improvement, but it's rather a factor of 10. I already said that we have the AI Institute here. We're quite proud, to be honest, that that's before ChatGPT. Gartner actually pointed out that for Deloitte, AI is an element of who the company is, as evidenced by the Global Deloitte AI Institute, which we're running since, I think, 6 years now. Just to give you quite a short insight, we're mostly concerned with basically being the spearhead on all topics AI within Deloitte, globally connected. We're certainly looking at many of the eminence pieces. So a lot of what you read on AI from Deloitte has actually run through the AI Institute. We have quite some of the experts around AI within the Institute. We bring those to the clients. We also connect, obviously we know everything within Deloitte, but we connect here practitioners with our partners and so on. So this is quite powerful. And we view this holistically from topics like innovation strategy to capability building. So basically getting the humans on board, and also obviously the technology needs to scale. Coming to agents. According to Fei Li, one of the most famous researchers in the whole AI space, she's very much into vision AI. She said AI agents will transform the way we interact with technology, make it more natural and intuitive. So that's great. And they will enable us to have more meaningful and productive interaction with computers. So quite a big part of what AI is doing right now is making sure that the computer is getting closer to us. So we have to learn less about how computers work because computers are able to understand better how humans work, right? Seeing that from this point of view, I think is quite an interesting quote. There are many others. At the end of the day, they go roughly in the same direction. Where do AI agents come from? They didn't just drop out of nowhere. The concept of agents itself is actually pretty old. But in the realm of Gen AI, I think everybody of us has seen and probably chatted with the chatbots that are like started popping up everywhere about 2 years ago. And then these transformed into co-pilots. So they would be attached to systems and they give you this very short interaction cycles that you can kind of work like the account assistant with an existing system, but you don't have to understand all the crooks and cannies in there, but you can actually kind of use your natural language to go through there. Now, an AI agent is, again, if you like, one step in the evolution further. They are pretty specialized, so co-pilots tend to be very broad. They are autonomous, so they are not just always coming back, so to speak, for the user with one single piece of information, but you can give them bigger tasks. Obviously, the initial ones handle smaller tasks, but as we evolve, the tasks are getting bigger, and they are able to resolve those autonomously, and that's a big difference, they can execute things. So whereas co-pilots usually just write text to you and maybe do little things, AI agents are often given the power to actually execute many different operations such that automation can indeed happen. Just a brief look, if we cut open an agent, if you like, there are two pieces which are interacting, which is the agent, obviously, and an environment. That's obviously highly simplified. But what the agent does is pretty much what all of us are doing. We can kind of perceive or sense our environment. And on the other hand, we can interact with the environment. So we can act and we can sense. So that's basically the cycle here. And what we are doing then is thinking, which is usually decision-making, analyzing situations, planning, and so on. That's a straightforward agent. And that's what language models are actually pretty good at, this thinking part, which is in quotes on purpose. What is specific to an agent here, or what's very important to an agent as well, should not be forgotten, is on the one hand memory, because otherwise, if you kind of wake up every time anew and you forgot what you actually wanted to achieve, it's pretty hard to reach your goal, which is actually the second part, which is crucial to agents because they need to have a goal, which, by the way, is quite different from humans because that's unique to us. We can define our goals ourselves. Agents can't do that yet. And here's just as an example, one agent we built. So if you think about doing research for a report and then writing the report, there are usually quite some tasks that you need to perform, namely the research and the writing and data sourcing, and, desk research, quality assurance, you might select images and so on. That's quite a lot. Here on this page, this is a system that we built within Deloitte. We have an analyst that's basically at the very beginning via user interface, telling the agent, communicating to the agent what should be done. Then there's a bunch of standard task agents. They're just able to, do what the kind of greenish ones here on top do, like planning, which is a general task, or multimodal processing, so blending images, text, and so on. And these agents are then calling up on other agents, which are very specialized. So they have a very, very narrow focus, and they're very good at doing only that, but very good at that. So these are then kind of called in by the more generic standard task agents in doing different tasks like browsing the web for content, sourcing data, structuring the data, making quality assurance, summarizing content, writing the report, and all of these things, such that at the end, the analyst gets back the full written report. Obviously, should do proper review and then can deliver this report, which is still some work for the analyst to do because there's the quality assurance for sure. But there's a huge, let's say, team of digital colleagues which is helping, which on the one hand is quite nice because there's a lot of work that can be done faster and also lots of more things than you could probably see as a human. On the other hand, you still have to put in some work to really get it right at the end, because you can't really cut out the human completely here, unless it's a very low risk scenario, which is hardly ever the case. Speaking of risks, this is just a selection, right? Obviously, but just to highlight a little bit of the risks and benefits. It's not just all glory, right? There are quite some challenges, and they're not so much technical. So, for example, if you think of the pyramids, right? 4,000 years ago, we know humans built them. Nobody knows how we built them. In this case, not because we outsourced the building to something, but we just didn't do it anymore. The same happens when we outsource certain tasks to machines. At some point, we just forget. So there's a challenge of skill degradation, which could be hard. And also, if you think about education, quite often to be able to kind of control an agent, you might need to know what it's doing. So where to pick up this skill. Something, a second here is what's usually called the alignment problem. It's not so easy to really communicate to a technical solution what we really mean under which conditions. So if I would say, get me coffee to one of my colleagues, which I usually get myself, but just for the sake of the example, they probably wouldn't kind of turn the world upside down just to get me coffee. There might be quite a selection of situations where they come back and say like, Björn, sorry, the coffee machine was broken or the queue was too long or whatever it was, I brought you water instead. All these exceptions would need to be built into a machine because this is kind of knowledge that we as humans have generally learned when growing up, but that's never really made explicit. And then obviously another issue which is more social, if you have such agents and they can be steered at scale, like a cheap workforce that's just following your orders, you can do a lot of harm by basically manipulating whatever it is at large scale. Obviously, there are quite some benefits, and they're pretty straightforward too. It's increased efficiency. I mean, if you just look at the example, the three examples I've given, pretty straightforward that there's a lot of time and effort that can be saved. That's otherwise tedious work for humans. Just think about structuring data. That's usually not a task that I've found anybody liking. Enhanced decision making. I can easily look at an Excel sheet that's, let's say, 10 rows by 10 columns. An agent doesn't have any issues with looking at almost countless series of numbers and texts and blending them all into each other and not being fooled by human bias because they don't have that, but running proper statistics, which for humans is quite often quite challenging. So there's really strength of these digital systems to enhance decision making and support as humans in things we're really, really bad at, namely processing tons of data in a statistically proper way, let's say. And obviously, scalability, you can just grow a digital workforce as you like, as long as there's compute resources available. There's a bonus one on the risk side, of course. Just because they're agents doesn't mean their hallucinations go away. So this is still an issue. Just because it's an agent doesn't mean all the results are right? So there still needs to be some checking. So all the agent talk, where are we? I'm pretty sure many of you have heard of the famous S-curve. Initial growth, rapid growth, late growth, and stationary. We're certainly not stationary. It feels like a rapid growth, and personal estimate here is we're probably somewhere there. We've seen certainly quite some initial growth, first and foremost, probably in the media. We're seeing many, as our numbers from the report show, many companies which are actually looking into agents. But we would all expect a lot more growth to happen once, let's say, the initial bigger use cases are being opened up and show revenue, which usually takes a moment until you actually see improved revenue. That doesn't happen on the first day you deploy an agent to production. And then you would obviously have late growth and stationary at some point in the future. Now, this S-curve used to be quite stretched in the past. This time, I don't know if we'll make 5 years of it, will be just 3 years in total. How does it impact jobs? Just a very simple overview here. The physical and cognitive jobs. The agents, obviously I have a high impact on the cognitive side. Physical would be things like an assembly line. And then there are routine and non-routine jobs. Routine jobs are automated on the cognitive side already for quite a while. And if you think about agents, they're probably somewhere there, right? So there are some routine jobs which are not that routine, actually. The agents can come in because they have this flexibility. But there's on purpose a sliver on the right left free, because they're complex tasks which are really tricky. And at least right now, and probably also not the very near future, would expect an agent to be able to do that. So the complex stuff is up to all of us. And bottom right, non-routine physical tasks. If you just think about a plumber, that's a thing really hard to automate, but it's not necessarily cognitive task, the part that's hard to automate here. Just because there are agents now doing lots of cognitive things doesn't mean there's nothing left for us. So we're speaking a lot about the age of width, and I think I would like to repeat this here. There's a lot of automation that machines can do very well. This is usually stuff that humans don't really want to do anyhow. There are other tasks which can be augmented by machines. So the human is in the driver's seat. And then there are two other ones which are usually forgotten. Namely, there are new things which weren't needed before. Let's just think about an agent orchestrator or somebody who's building agent, or the prompt engineer, the classic prompt engineer, so to speak. So these are all new jobs, new tasks that didn't exist 1 or 2 years back. And then obviously there are certain tasks which technology is really bad at, like having empathy, being patient, critical thinking. That's something that's stuck with us humans for certainly still quite some time. Almost the end. I just want to show one quick video, which is a little bit bigger what we're building, because we're preaching the AI-fueled enterprise. And this is pretty much a vision of how Deloitte looks in this space and what we are currently working on and partially have up and running.
The autonomous era is here. Many industries are introducing autonomous products and capabilities to increase productivity and efficiency for consumers and users. What if you could bring this new level of efficiency and productivity to the enterprise users, who are the backbone of running your day-to-day business? What if we go from multiple resources, processing and analyzing data in various systems, to an intelligent virtual business agent, interacting with you in real time, just like a human analyst by your side? Introducing Zora AI by Deloitte, your virtual business agents. These intelligent virtual agents will help bring clarity and depth to your inquiries, improving your productivity, saving your organization time and cost. How? We are taking decades of business knowledge, experience from 460,000 plus professionals within a network of technology, risk, tax, audits, globally, and the help of NVIDIA's AI and engineering power. Deloitte's Zora AI is built to interpret real-time data from structured and unstructured sources with 5 unique design principles to execute tasks with high degree of relevancy and accuracy. It is designed to interact with the human and translate and convert this natural language into system instructions. It can read, analyze, and interpret structured content from various systems. In parallel, it can read, analyze, and interpret unstructured data. It is designed to run the analytical and mathematical models to define related insights and trends. And lastly, it translates these analytics into a user-friendly format to help inform business-critical decisions. Our virtual agents can enhance finance, supply chain, HR, sales, marketing, customer service, tax, cybersecurity, and many other functions in your organization, all built on the foundation of trustworthy AI. Welcome to the future. Welcome to Zora AI, your autonomous enterprise agents.
Just one last piece. Obviously, we're aware that AI, and especially Gen AI, is not without challenges. There is energy requirements, and they are tremendous. So one thing we usually keep in mind is that don't use Gen AI or AI if it can be done with something simpler, right? Really making sure on that side. We're aware that there's quite some impact on the social side, though there have been many discussions on workers behind the scenes. Something to be aware of and to take into consideration when working with these systems. That's obviously moving forward. And then there are, and we've seen this in the first report from last year in our State of Generative AI Wave 1, I think it was called. There was a question on the power distribution, and there is indeed many belief that the power distribution will become more extreme. So the middle class, so to speak, is challenged by AI, or at least there's a worry that it might be challenged, which I think where it's important that the topic of AI is taken up by everyone, because only if all of us discuss this, and it's not just for technologists, for sure not. It started with a very broad community, and it should be a very broad community. We can make sure that it's actually beneficial for humanity as a whole. Wonderful. As promised, there's a lot more you can find. Just look for Deloitte, Gen AI, and maybe the AI Institute. You will find those reports and many more. Happy reading. I think that'll get you easily to summary if you want to read all of them, so probably pick and choose. Yeah, and with that, through this presentation. So I have some questions coming in. I'll just read them out. So first question would be, how do you see AI agents transforming the landscape of customer service in the next 5 years? Very good question, and certainly one which is, let's say, an obvious playground for agents. So customer service being call centers and similar things. We have already seen in what we tend to call conversational AI, chatbots that have made the first steps in this area. Obviously, powering them with language models gave them quite a push, because they are much better in interpreting much freer human language, whereas the initial chatbots had their challenges sometimes. And with agents, you will get the chance that they can take over more complex planning, so more complex interactions with customers. The partners we work with that supply such customer service solutions, I think pretty much all of them are implementing agents in their tool chain, quite often actually to support the people sitting in a call center or working with the tools from the employer side. But there are also agents being, let's say, initial ones serving the customer directly. So those obviously have a higher risk, because if something goes wrong within the company, it's easier to call back and to fix and train the people accordingly beforehand than if that happens somewhere outside. So there is a change certainly happening. You will be able to reach things 24/7. I wouldn't expect total magic there, because at the end of the day, if it's something complicated, you might end up in a situation where you need a human. On the other hand, leveraging technology can give you quite some examples. Just if you think about breaking down with your car somewhere in the middle of the night, and you call the service and they say, "Where are you?" And my usual answer would probably be, "On a highway, I can see 3 trees in front of me," which is utterly useless for them in locating me. If we leverage all the digital technology, then obviously they can just locate my position with a GPS and do things like these. So there's a lot that can happen, but there's already a lot happening now. So in 5 years, customer service will probably be a very elegant version of what we have right now. I think I'll have to be a little bit quicker on the next questions. I thought I'd get 2, but by now it's some more. How does Zora AI ensure the security and privacy of sensitive data, and how it can be differentiated from other data? That's a very detailed question. What I can say here is that given that we're an audit company, we have it in our blood to be super careful with this. You don't want to know how much care we put into this for very good reasons. This is a dedicated team that's obviously looking at this, and given the area they're in, namely indeed often sensitive financial data, all the rules that we have apply. Right. That doesn't necessarily always make it easy to build the technological systems, but we certainly prefer having them safe than having them, let's say, shipped. So there is, it's too much of a question, so to speak, or too long of an answer to go in there. But rest assured, that's our core business, to keep these things safe, and that's what's happening there as well. Specific use cases of agentic AI. I mean, you've seen the one that's basically running after invoices at the very beginning. So that's a very simple planning, so to speak. It just has to do some very few steps, which is great because that's what agents can do right now, and relieves the human from going through endless SAP systems and the like to just find some simple things. Report writing is another great example for sure, which has been repeated over and over. Once it gets into implementation, though, they're not as easy as I sometimes look at the beginning. Another one, which is often called for agentic, is if you have a search system where it's not a direct answer, but where the answer is basically built together from deriving the answer from multiple pieces of information. So this is also, let's say, level 1 agents, which are needed here. And this is quite powerful because, again, you don't have to dig through all this piece of information and infer the solution yourself. And then we have, I'm just getting a shout out here for the panel discussion. So again, at 40, we start the panel discussion. What do you think the future of consulting will be with AI agent? I think Zora shows us quite well. So we're using them, and hence we'll be quicker, simply speaking. Not all figured out. Nobody has it figured out because we don't really know what's going to come next if you look at the speed of development, but certainly being at the very front of it is important for us. When creating a background for an AI agent, I would refer to the publications here. I think they contain quite some information here, or to the large language model providers. They have recently, including Hugging Face, provided quite some good information on this. Happy to refer to those. Use of AI influence. Ooh. That's an easy question. What do you recommend to staying on track with the new developments in AI? Tough. I think it's good if you keep reading. Don't follow every buzzword. There's a lot of buzz out there. At the end of the day, if I go back to my research world and say, hey, so many things happened, the usually reply I get is like, Björn, it's basically the same thing as 10 years ago, just the names changed. So look at the foundations, and then all the buzz that's on top is relevant, but it's not looking as fast anymore as it looks when you don't see the foundation. Wonderful. And with that, going to jump over to the panel. So I would assume my colleagues coming on now. Wonderful. There they are. See, no agents, all humans. Very much alive and kicking. Thanks so much for joining me. Have some questions prepared here, and very much looking forward to the discussion and the insights. But let's just first start with a quick round of introductions. Anna, you're joining from Lisbon, but there's more.
No, so I'm a tech consultant in Portugal at Deloitte. I joined the company not so long ago. I joined last summer in 2024. And I also have a very different background. So before I was more in an academic world, like Björn, but I was studying neuroscience and biochemistry. So I was learning how the brain encodes movement. I did a brief period in Germany, my master's, but I then did my PhD in Portugal. And at Deloitte, I've been doing mostly Gen AI projects in retail, also call center and cybersecurity, and also pharma industries on document generation and just improving the efficiency of certain services. Yeah.
Very cool. And then we have Zarina joining us from Sarajevo.
Good evening or good afternoon or good morning, everybody, depending on which part of the world are you joining us to this webcast. My name is Irina, and I'm based in Sarajevo in Bosnia and Herzegovina. I actually joined Deloitte Consulting 4 years ago. Previously, I also worked in the consulting background, but more as within the data analytics function. Currently, I'm a manager within our broader AI and data offering, and I'm proud to say that I'm not limited to working only, within Bosnia or let's say the near region, but I'm working with our colleagues across the Central Europe and globally. In terms of my background, I have a bachelor in financial management, master's in quantitative finance, and besides that, I would say my major experience in terms of industry is within the FSI sector. And when we talk about AI and data and where my experience comes in there, I would say it comes mostly from being the project manager and the PMO expert, supporting strategic projects regarding technology and transformation, which includes AI. In the free time, I like hiking, and I'm very much a big fan of cocktail mixing. So looking forward to spend the next half an hour with you and hopefully with my colleagues to respond to some burning questions that you might have. Thank you.
Right. Thanks so much, Irina. And then last but not least, Philip from Munich, I believe.
Thanks a lot, Björn. Yes, indeed. I'm dialing in from Munich, from the German member firm. Myself been with Deloitte for more than 3.5 years now. Started as a consultant at a big digital transformation project, and then actually made the shift towards the AI Institute before the hype of ChatGPT started, because since I have a background in physics, so actually computational physics, and did some neural network training during my studies, I decided to focus on AI again. Well, luckily before the hype around ChatGPT started, and then ever since I've been focusing on generative AI from everything from C-level briefings all the way down to the technical nitty-gritties of implementing POCs around various different subjects. With that, also very happy to be here today and answer some of your questions.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, you three, for joining here. There's some more questions. First, we had a short introduction, but since it's about AI, we'd really like to know what brought you to the topic of AI, and if you could just give like a one to the point answer, maybe just a single sentence. Serena, what makes this topic so exciting to you?
So my world, my journey into the world of AI was not a typical one, considering my background, quantitative finance, and financial management. And also my previous consulting background, which is mostly in terms of supporting organization on their process optimization, strategic consulting. It wasn't necessarily AI focused as such. However, through my previous work and of course current work through multiple organizations, whether it's FSI sector or telcos or life sciences, trying to support organizations to resolve their complex, challenges and to optimize their processes, I became more and more involved and fascinated by potential of AI to actually transform these organizations and industries, and by its ability to redefine what's possible. What really excited me the most is the significant improvements that were possible through AI in terms of efficiency, accuracy, and innovation. So within Deloitte, for example, my journey within AI started as my project management support in establishing the generative AI Global Center of Excellence. So a couple of years ago, I was working closely with Philip actually and some of our colleagues on the Deloitte global level. And, as we were receiving multiple of requests globally, on the topic, I realized through that as well, early on the importance of the topic, for our organization and thus also for all of the organizations globally. So, so this is a short answer basically on what.
Very cool. A lot in there. Anna, PhD in neuroscience last year and joined Deloitte this year. How does that work out in one sentence?
Yeah, generally, I'm very brief with my answers, so let me know if I need further clarifications. But I think it might seem like a big stretch, but there's a lot of similarities. So in my PhD, I always did a lot of data analysis. The difference is I was collecting my own data. So now at Deloitte, I get the data handed to me, and I can do AI projects, do forecasts, predictions on data, and help businesses do their digital transformation. I mean, there's a lot of similarities also between doing a PhD and a consulting job. You can always switch from project to project, and you need to have some strategic mindset in your time management and in your knowledge. Like you need to be on top of a bit of everything. So I wanted to keep that when I transitioned to something in industry. So this consulting job is really suiting my needs, and I keep getting my strengths even better in either the technical part or the client facing role that we also have in a consulting. So that has been a smooth transition, even though it seems like a very different job. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot, Anna. And same question to you, Philip. How does your background fit in here?
Well, I think we can rephrase the question to when it stopped being AI, because I think what business sees as AI has changed over the last couple of years quite a bit. Now AI seems to be all about generative AI and agents. Back in the days, machine learning and expert systems were AI. So basically, ever since well, before my studies, I've been involved with programming here and there, and computational physics and predictions around where galaxy clusters are present is definitely a form of AI, I would say. So, with that, basically never left the area since my studies.
And the areas dancing around you. Cool. Thanks a lot. Let's. In theory, that all looks nice on slides, if you've seen. But once we put it into real life, obviously, regardless of if it's for ourselves internally or for our clients, it's probably a bit more tricky. And I heard some key trends around AI agents, which are also important. Anna, I guess it's very interesting to audience to hear a bit more about what you do day-to-day work. Some insights you could share.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you develop these agentic applications for clients, you are developing a bit of everything inside of these applications. So first, you need a lot of software engineering because you need to take care of the infrastructure of these applications you're developing. You need to develop your prompt engineering skills. So you need to work with these large language models to be able to get the best output and the output that matches what the client desires. And you need a lot of a large discovery phase in each project to try to understand what is exactly the problem the business has that you can try to solve with AI and AI tools.
Yeah. Understanding indeed the problem the business has. That I think that bridges quite nicely to what I wanted to ask Philip. Like, indeed, it's not always easy to figure out what the problem actually is. So how do we kick this off?
Well, it's definitely interesting question. I think let me answer it after the rise of ChatGPT, because nowadays our clients all know about generative AI. So it has actually become more of a sort of a pull than a push. So our clients are coming to us asking for suggestions or advice on generative AI solutions. I think the overall goal of most organizations and management is to increase productivity and really increase or streamline their processes to digitalize and actually use the new technologies available. And where we come in is basically talking to them about, well, how can they make use of this technology? And the more important question is, what do they need in order to actually use this technology? So a lot about data quality, their data structure, their whole infrastructure, but then also their setup of teams, what skills they need to actually move as a whole company into the future. So that's why I think clients also come to Deloitte, because we are uniquely positioned to help and support clients in all of these areas. So not just technology, but also on the people side. And as you mentioned in your keynote, as well as the risks. Some clients are maybe not scared, but definitely cautious when it comes to AI and sensitive data and how to use these systems on public clouds or on-premises solutions and so on. So that's where we come in and advise them and really can draw from our experience to make sure that our clients are making the right choices, setting them up for an even more AI-enabled future.
Yeah, it's a complex technology, so it looks easy on slides and demos, right? Serena, connecting to this, which capabilities and talents are required for delivering a successful AI project? So how should the team look like?
I would definitely agree with what Philip mentioned. On one end, we are requiring technical skills, of course, to be able to deliver the project. But as we have seen from multiple, deliveries, is that the change management and ensuring that also there is proper governance enabled within an organization throughout this implementation is key to ensure that implementation will, in the end, be successful in the organization. Because on one hand, ensuring that you have technical solutions ready is great, but on the other hand, having people actually use it is another pair of shoes, which we need to ensure that we are actually tackling properly through the project itself. So to respond to your question, in terms of the capabilities and talents, we need technical skills for sure, but also project management proficiency, change management proficiency, and governance, AI ethics and governance proficiency in order to ensure that AI solutions are fair, transparent, and accountable.
Yeah, good point. So it's a lot more than just technology, right? And hence you also need the skills. But looking a little bit into the technology that's moving so fast. I mean, we've all heard about lifelong learning. Now, obviously, relevance of, if you like, individual upskilling as well. It's relevant for all of us. And how do the tools support you in your daily work? And how do you the speed of innovation?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think we all right now have some experience with using AI tools for our daily work, not just developing them for our projects and our clients. And I'm no exception. So also at Deloitte, we try to change the existing tools to have more security so we can use them. So for example, we can use ChatGPT in a secure way where we can use perhaps some client data in a way that doesn't get updated into the cloud. So we can use these content generation tools in a way that speeds up our job and makes it more efficient in a secure way, because you can imagine that while developing these AI tools, the best way to develop or to improve the answer of a large language model is to speak like one. So it's actually very useful if you use some AI tools in your prompt engineering. So that's an example of day-to-day tool I use. And yeah, but one must be careful with using these tools because there's always hallucinations and the risks of security. So the benefits and the harms have to be weighed in. Yeah.
Yeah, the famous white room without the elephant.
Yeah.
I Googled that if you haven't seen that. I still think it's hilarious. So there's indeed a lot of support, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but look it up. We have a wonderful university building in Paris. But apart from the building, Serena, how does Deloitte support you or us in general in staying up to date on AI skills?
It's a good question, and it's one of the core pillars I was working on when I was part of the establishment of our internal center of excellence. So how to ensure that our internal capabilities are being built up in the area as a company. And I would say that every company has to be thinking about this topic as of now, considering the relevance of the topic itself. But to get back to concrete answer, it's all about learning path for a specific person within an organization. So there are different roles in each organization, and within our organizations, there are continuous learning and development programs according to your role. Now it's important to integrate the AI related tools and techniques within each individual path. So this can be done either through, specific courses, certifications and specializations, through knowledge sharing sessions, which are available to all of us on weekly basis on the topic. And then, of course, you always have project-based learning. So we are seeing more and more projects which are including the AI as a component. So you are learning also on the go, maybe not by doing technical aspects, but you're learning more on the topic itself, and you're becoming more, I would say, you have more knowledge on the topic through your actual work on the projects, which include AI components.
Yeah, it's indeed using in a real life context and then having colleagues left and right and being aware of the risks, right? That's where you can learn a lot. I have an offer, Philip. Let's time travel to close the discussion. Basically, go back to the beginning, if you like. If you would have known about the hype years before, what would you have told your younger self to prepare for?
A big question. I think I will answer it in some different categories. I think when it comes to studying and choosing a career or choosing which skills to develop, I definitely think math and being able to program or understand programming languages helps a ton. I mean, in the end, neural networks or also the large language models are just a bunch of matrix multiplications. So once you understood multiplications are, how they work, or even how neural networks are trained with backpropagation just being basically derivatives applied, it helps to have a foundational understanding of these technologies, and then helps to see the technology in a light of business context as well. So I would say there are these two main pillars, so to say. One's the technical foundation, which is math, but mainly like computer science. And it's always helpful to be able to solve some problems just with a simple script instead of doing it manually. But then, of course, depending on where you see yourself in the which direction of a career you want to take, having a keen eye for the business side. So knowing not just how to solve a problem, but also which problems are actually worth solving. I think figuring that part out and then having that combination is a very powerful combination in the field of AI and in the world of today, I would say.
Cool. Thanks a lot. We still have some questions from the audience here. Thanks for those questions. Just to add a quote I really like is, and I think that goes to the point that you just said, Philip. Pablo Picasso apparently said at some point that computers are useless because they can only give you answers. I like that a lot because it's pretty much on point that we're still the ones asking the question, right? And as you know, having the right question is half of the solution quite often. You had some questions. So that's to the point of Picasso. Will AI agents be able to build AI agents? So can we get meta agents and then maybe meta agents that do that stuff? Whoever starts talking first. So what's your opinion, Anna? Do you think we will have that? Will we have that soon? Will we never have that?
I think we might have that in the future, but I think we have more important things to solve right now in terms of building AI agents that are actually very useful and maybe increasingly more task specific, that they can solve really useful tasks. And having a team of agents that can solve then a complex task that can be really useful to transform a business. So before we are going to the phase of an AI agent building another AI agent, I think we need to solve these things first. But that's just my opinion. Yeah.
Other opinions here? Serena?
I think just to jump in from maybe a technical perspective. So if we have an AI agent system that is capable of writing program code that actually works and not just ones that's buggy or only works in a part of the time, the evolution to not just write program code for one specific solution, but to, well, generate program code that in itself, again, is an agentic system, I don't think is too far off. So once we have built agents for specific purposes, and then, I mean, like you mentioned in the Deloitte paper we talk about multi-agent systems, then the output of a multi-agent system could be a report or could also be one specific agent that maybe was missing in that system. So I think with the development, we will definitely see that in the future.
Very cool. Zarina, unless you disagree massively with one of the two, I would just skip to one of the other questions. We have, where do you see AI agents in the core ERP? So, yeah, ERP area.
Maybe I can start and then colleagues can continue.
Yeah, absolutely, please.
I guess they're becoming more and more integral to the enterprise resource planning, basically transforming how businesses actually manage data and automate processes. So I would say primarily in the area of process automation, so using it to automate routine tasks such as data entry, etc. And this would help in turn reduce human errors and free up employees' time for more strategic tasks. The additional aspects could be that we hear often from the key stakeholders are enhanced decision making. So providing more insightful data-driven recommendations, predictive analytics, etc. And then, of course, we have customer service and experience, which is the end goal for each company, which is basically by providing fast response times and personalized interactions. So to summarize, these three areas would be the ones that I see the most relevant as of now.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's similar to what we did earlier, right? So we're aligned there. Anna, Philip, anything to add on enterprise resource planning?
I think Zarina said everything, but I think one of the key points in building these AI agents is also ensuring that they are well adopted in the company. Sometimes that's also a large setback in the projects. So we have to make sure that the people that are actually using these tools can and will use them in the future. Yeah.
And this is the part where change management within an
Exactly.
organization in these projects plays a huge role, making sure that they understand the goal and purpose, that it's not replacement, it's rather enhancement of their everyday and making sure they have more time for the, let's say, more strategic, meaningful work.
Then it also comes back to the skills, right? Like you need at least the basic understanding of the technology to work with it and to actually get all the productivity gains. So coming back to my previous answer, basically, no matter how much into the technical area you want to develop yourself, having some sort of understanding of how AI solutions work will definitely help to use them in the future.
Awesome. So it's still all about the humans, as I hear all of you, but empowered with AI agents, which I think is great. And let's see, pushing everything into the future is not just the speed that technology is allowing us, but it's actually the speed that an organization can perform here, right? So thanks so much for this discussion. I think these were wonderful insights. I learned a lot, as usual. Looking forward to more, and then I see Jens, you're up again.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks to all our attendees, our participants. You really kept us busy with a huge bunch of questions. And first of all,
go for a while, yeah. Still.
Yeah, so like you recognized, obviously we wanted as well to give you some additional insights, which we focused on now as well the last 15 minutes to give you the different individual perspectives. But on the other hand, important for you, of course, we've seen and read all your questions and what we can and will offer you, and this will now, as we'll come directly to the outlook, what comes next. We had as well one operational question. We recorded the whole webcast we will provide you, of course, the recording afterwards. And what we can and would like to offer you is to cover the different questions where we didn't have the time now due to the restricted timing of the webcast, that we will give you a kind of short Q&A. And on the other hand, like you've seen, oh no, I have to share my screen, and then I would like to add one wish. Of course, even though I would say we are already really happy for this really interactive session with all of you, but nevertheless, of course, nobody's perfect. We are more than interested in your feedback to learn, okay, where did we meet your expectation? What was maybe missing? And what was, for me at least, obvious now, AI agent, maybe not surprising, is a really hot topic as well for different questions, even though I'm not the real AI expert. I'm more the HI and marketing guy. I think very good questions you mentioned, and we will come to this afterwards then in the follow-up mail. And like you see here already on the screen, of course, we will go on with our webcast series. Hopefully you liked it, and we would be really happy if you will join in the next webcast, where we will make a real deep dive on the financial service industry, where Maria and some other colleagues as well from Europe will give you very concrete insights about the status quo, but as well invite you to have a look in the future how AI will and is already disrupting this important and big industry. And on the other hand, what we would like to offer you, maybe you just make a quick screenshot, but on the other hand, you will get it as well afterwards in the recording and the newsletter. All of you are warmly invited to get in contact with our colleagues, with me, of course, as well, via LinkedIn. We know from the registration we have a quite diverse group of attendees. Some of you are still studying, some are already in the business, and of course we are, on the one hand, more than interested as well to go on with an exchange on AI trends and topics, and on the other hand, hopefully we inspired you as well to make maybe even more curious, okay, which kind of career and job opportunities do we have? Deloitte is worldwide present, and besides the selected AI jobs we have on our page, it will be as well our pleasure to support you to hopefully welcome a lot of you in the near future as well, maybe as colleagues. So that's it from our side. Thank you very much. It was our pleasure, and thanks for your interest and for your active participation. And then enjoy the evening, and hope to meet you soon.